Hey friends, Sarah Fela here. Today we're going to talk about getting organized. And it's kind of ironic that I'm talking about this because most people wouldn't say that I am the most organized person on the planet. But what I do have are tips and tricks to help you understand what's going on in your brain to help you actually get your house organized. Specifically, we're going to talk about your house right now. We're not talking about your business, we're not talking about anything else. So I wanted to have this conversation because I've been working like this last week with a lot of clients and it keeps coming up. And then I'm also like in this like phase of wanting to like clean out my own house. So I'm like, okay, seems like something is in the air right now for moms wanting to get organized. And this is a really important piece to the whole puzzle. As a mom coach, what I help you do is not only get your like health in check, but like your whole life in check, right? Because you can't really take one piece apart from the other. And so often when I'm doing like a life wheel or a little bubble thing or coaching with clients, the house for women is a big thing on the plate. So on their plate, if I could speak well, can I speak good? No, I know it's a joke. So let's talk about a few tips that have helped my clients recently when it comes to getting organized. One of the things I want us to start with, let's just take judgment out. If your house is a mess, it's just a clue that you're busy, or it's a clue that you don't care, or it's a clue that you have other priorities. Let's take all of the judgment out of it first. Okay. So let's start this conversation from a place of peace and just letting go of guilt and shame. And whatever the story is, you make it mean that your house is a mess, right? Whether you make it mean that you're a bad mom, a bad woman, that you're disorganized, that you are a loser, whether you're lazy. Okay, all of that chatter, we're just gonna like set it to the side. Yes, at some point we deal with it, right? Like you can't just like shame away. You have to actually go in, identify it, address it, release it, let it go, right? If you need that help, obviously contact me, we can work together. But for the sake of this call, let's just let it be what it is, okay? Like your house is a mess, all right? Maybe it's just the closet. Maybe it's just that one drawer, the one drawer that you are like, just put everything that you don't want to deal with in. You want to get organized. So, what's the first step? Okay, the first step is, do you really want this? Because otherwise, you're just going to think that you should be doing it, but you don't actually want to do it. And then you feel more guilt and shame and annoyed. And then it's just this should that's just like sitting on you. And you probably already have like 400 things on your plate, right? Okay. Do you really want to get it done? That's the question. Do you want to? Do you want to do it for your future self? This is a question I often ask my clients. Like, when you don't want to get something done, one way to get it done is to say, okay, how is this serving my future self? Right. So for me, for example, I have my transplant coming up, right? So I'm going to be in LA for like a month while I recover from that. And then whatever. So my future self would very much appreciate if the closet was already organized so that when I come home from that, I'm not like, oh yeah, you should have done that, right? So what does your future self want? Like, how would your future self show up today to get the results you want? When I was just talking to this client too, like I was like, imagine, because right now I'm recording this, it's September. I'm like, imagine you go through like all of your kids' toys now. So that way when Christmas happens and like people buy all the stuff, you don't have all the new stuff plus all the old stuff plus life doesn't stop, right? So this is about getting that holistic picture. So do you really want it? Where can you start and what's keeping you from doing it? Often this is a really fun insight. Like if you were my client right now, I don't really care whether you do it or not, right? It's your life, it's your choice. What I care about is why you do or you don't do it. I have learned so much about myself and my clients through realizing, okay, why do you put it off? Like a year ago, I needed to do my closet and I literally cleaned the entire house, including the garage, and before I got to that closet. And those different patterns in our life will show up. And I was able to identify, oh, right, Sarah, like this is what you do in your business too. You have this one task that you're making a story that seems so big. You'll go do like 50 other items in your business instead of just that one thing that you like need to get done, right? It's the story we tell about it. Or I was talking to a different client just this morning, actually, and I wish I could remember the exact wording she used. It was so good. She was like, that drawer is like a dark dungeon or something to that effect. And I was like, right, because like who would want to sign up to go work in a dark dungeon? The story we tell about the situation really does play into the actions that we take of whether or not we want to do that, right? Like, I don't want to go in a dark dungeon and be like tortured alone for like however long, or it's going to take a long time. We might have that story too. Take all the stories away, figure out what you want, make a plan to do it, and then show up for yourself. Another trigger that you might find that happens for yourself is sometimes certain things require more mental energy than other things. So my husband helped me identify this. Even it was a couple weekends ago, and I was like wanting to get to my closet. I mowed the lawn, I edged it, I did the dishes. I think I even went into the boys' room and like organized some random thing. And I was like, that was funny, husband. Did you see what I did? He's like, well, yeah. He's like, because the lawn doesn't take any mental energy. Okay. I was like, oh my goodness, you're so right. The idea of organizing the closet or like my makeup drawer in the bathroom or whatever requires mental energy because I have to decide. So in that moment, I was like, oh my word. So this is a perfect tool for you, right? So if you feel overwhelmed because you're like, it's just like a lot of decisions and I'm already tired, give yourself permission to make a yes, a no, and a maybe pile. Okay. What I want you to do is that no pile that's super obvious, handle it, get it out of your house, whether you sell it, whether you donate it, whatever you do with it, get it out of the house. And I want to give you permission to give yourself permission to say you don't have to get to the maybe pile right now. If that feels like too much in your season of life, I don't know what you have going on. Could you just get rid of the no's? Because the no's are really obvious. And so I challenged another client too. I was like, take a trash bag, walk around your house. The no things are pretty obvious, right? Like just get rid of the no things. You don't need to do the deep dive where you're analyzing like, how much did I spend? Should I sell it? Should I like all of that stuff, right? I don't know. Maybe I'll wear this some other day. Maybe I like it. I don't know. Okay. I know all that. Right. I have that language too. That stuff, just let it be. So if you just need a place to start that feels more manageable, what are the no's? What do you know for sure that you can get rid of? And start there, right? And give yourself grace to know what it looks like. Another thing is that people will say often is, well, I don't have time to do it all. And it's a whole project. It needs to be done all at once. Okay. If that story works for you, then great. Get it all done at once. If that story doesn't work for you, know that it's just a story and it doesn't have to be the truth, right? So like we talk about circumstances with the model, which is like Brooke Castillo's, one of her coaching tools that I use all the time with my clients. A circumstance means that 100% of people in the room, like 100 out of 100 would have to agree on the statement that you're saying. Okay. So if you tell me it has to be done at once, I don't know that I don't agree. Like, you don't have to do it at once. Somebody else might not agree. Somebody else might be like, you could do it like 5 minutes at a time. Someone might say you could do it like a week at a time. Someone might say once a year, just go in and do what you can. Okay. So just realize that if that story that you need to do it all at once is not working for you, let it go. Find a better story that works for you. Okay. And if you only want to do it all at once, understand that that's a choice you're making. But if that idea that I need to do it all at once is keeping you from even starting, how is it serving you? Is it getting you the results that you want? All at once is the result, or is the story you're telling yourself, which is causing you to take no action, which means nothing's getting done. So is nothing getting done better than just like 5 minutes of like pulling out a few things to donate? You tell me. Okay. So I just want to encourage you of different ways to think about this, right? Like, this is like everything in life, as the story we tell about it. That is, my husband's been working on a couple of his stress keynotes. And one of the things that he's been talking about is like stress, and our perceived stress about a situation has so much to do with the story we tell about it, right? Like, we could look at the same situation and we could see it as like dreadful and awful or dark dungeon, like that's going to take us forever. Or we could reframe that and say, oh my word, like I get to clean out my closet today, and after I'm going to have so much peace, and this is going to be so good for me. And I just know that there is somebody today, like imagine, like is probably wishing that she had this, and then I'm going to donate it, and she's going to go to the store and she's going to find it, and it's just going to be like the most perfect gift for her. You can tell the story about that. Now, here's the deal. As moms, I would bet, because I work with moms, that you're probably tired and you might feel a little overwhelmed and taxed out, right? So you might be like, Sarah, I don't have the energy to write a new story. Okay, excuse me. What do you do in that situation? Well, you take a minute to pause, you give yourself some grace, you identify the thoughts, what are working and what aren't working, and you find a thought that's going to work for you. You work with a coach to help you work on your thoughts, to help you get your stuff done. Maybe you have a friend come over and you're like, hey, can you just come over? Even we'll swap, right? Like I'll help you for an hour and you help me for an hour because that makes it fun and it's more like a party. Maybe you hire a I don't know what it would be called, like a clean, not a cleaning person, but like an organizational expert. Is there like a real name for that? I don't know. I know people do that all the time, right? Maybe you hire someone to come in and help you reorganize your whole house. Maybe you hire yourself a housekeeper. I do this. Like I have someone that comes in and she does all the deep cleaning, like the bathrooms and the stuff, because then I can help maintain the top, right? Like the top layer. We can do this. Or when I know all that deep stuff is done, then I actually have a little bit of space to get the organizational stuff done that she can't decide that for me. So there are ways to support yourself in this. And I just want you to know, like, I think in working with moms, one of my biggest hearts for you to understand is like, if you were to actually like write out your job description and everything that you carry and all your responsibilities and all your tasks and your kids this and that and all the things, your paper will be full. I was just doing it with a client. I don't even know where my paper is, but like, there's so much. And she just looked at it and she was like, wow, that's like a lot, right? Okay. But it is a lot, but it's more when we're not like conscious of it and we're not aware of it. So if your house is one of those pieces that is constantly stressing you out, what are systems you can get in place? What is support you can get for yourself? What are things that you just need to let go based on the season of life you're in and just be okay with it? Just choose to be like, now my house does look different now that my kids are a little bit older. We still have stuff to sort through, but it's way different than when I had like toddlers in the house. You know, my youngest is 7 now, my oldest is 15. So it's a whole different dynamic of the house and what my expectations are, right? Maybe the support comes from like hiring somebody, like I mentioned, or maybe it's that you need to have a family meeting to get everybody on board. When I was doing, you know, just coaching myself the other day, I realized, wow, we need to have another chore conversation as a family because this isn't working for me, right? Like we need to update and adapt and know that it's a constant flowing, moving thing as the seasons of life happen, right? Like this is September, school just started. So chores have been a little bit like chaotic because the boys are wiped, they're tired. I'm doing a little bit extra, but then like I'm like, okay, school's been on for a couple weeks now. We need to like get things back in the groove so that this family, like this house works for everybody who lives here. Okay. So I hope this has been helpful. I know. Okay. So I am not the like, hey, here's the step 1, step 2, step 3. What I want to help you do is figure out what works for you. And if you know that you need some extra support in this whole mom life thing with work and the house and just your own health goals, all the things you have going for you, you know, you can reach out to me, Mom Coach Sarah on Instagram, or find my website and let's talk about what it looks like to get that support that you need. But overall for this, my main thing I want you to know is you don't have to do it all at once. And what is the story you're telling yourself? Why aren't you doing it? Are you believing that it's going to be way harder than it is? Is it not really value, but yet you're just stressing yourself out and you just actually need to like own it and be like, you know what? I'm not getting to the garage until January. I'm just going to let it be what it is and then be okay and let it actually go. And by letting it go, for some people, you can just mentally do that. For some people, they need to actually like put it on a calendar for January so that you know to go back to it, right? And once it's written, they can like actually feel like they can let it go. It's figuring out what works for you. It's designing this life, like, because what works for me might not work for you. We have different goals. We have different personalities. We have different kids. We have different seasons of life. So I want you to feel the freedom to make this work for you. Let me see. I had a couple notes. Yeah, it's just the mental energy, where to start, just pick something and go for it. But really, that was really helpful for a few people. That yes, no, maybe. The no is pretty obvious. And so if you don't have the mental capacity to get to the yeses or the maybes and just decide that, give yourself some grace. Just put everything back in the closet. Know that you've already done a little bit. And then if you just keep doing a little bit, that'll work for you. All right. Talk to you later, friends.